Well, welcome back from our coffee break, Jeremy. How was your
Yeah,
coffee?
welcome back, Pat. I am actually drinking coffee today. It's cold coffee
Are you
from
really?
Costco. Yeah, I put a little bit of chocolate milk in it, so it's pretty tasty, I think. So
That's
Zach,
interesting.
yeah, Zach, do you have any coffee today? Or I see you had a water bottle, so that's
Yeah, I've just got my water
you
bottle
keeping
today.
keeping keeping it clean today, I guess. So that's
I
good.
finished my
Yeah, I
coffee
actually don't.
before
I
the
don't
coffee
drink
break.
coffee, but I love the smell of coffee, man. My favorite thing is walking through an airport and just being inundated with that smell.
Well, that's awesome. Well, it's too bad you can't just walk into airports these days. You got to go through security, otherwise,
Yeah,
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 that's been
that's
for a
right.
long time, though, Jeremy. A long, long
Yeah,
time.
it's been a while. I mean, I don't know how old Zach is, but that might even be before his time. We had Kenny from Cloud Free called in, and he's like, yeah, I was watching Seinfeld. I'm like thinking, wow, Seinfeld came out before you were born, or ended before you were born. So,
And it,
but yeah, so one thing you could ride through the airport, presumably. I mean, before they stopped you, is a single wheel transportation device, such as the one you built, right, Zach?
that's right. Yeah,
So why don't
yeah.
you
So
tell us about that?
I got interested in the one wheel. They're like the self balancing skateboard. Has a big fat like go kart tire kind of in the middle. You stand on it like a skateboard. You've got one foot in front of the other, and it's a self balancing device. So you kind of get once you get stood up on it, you can lean forward, and it propels you forward, and then you can slow down. So it's much like the Segway. It's the same principle of this kind of inverted pendulum where you're balancing on this, but as you lean forward, that's what propels you forward. So there's no handheld remote control or anything like that. It's just based on your balance. But yeah, they have these devices, and they're really cool. I've started to see a lot more people ride them around, and I thought that would
Yeah.
be really fun to
Zach,
have.
do you know that
Yeah,
when I ride a similar device, but
yeah.
when people stop me and say, "What is that? What do you do?" Half the people you talk to understand if you tell them it's half a Segway, and the other half understand if you tell them it's half of a hoverboard.
There you go.
It
Yeah,
depends on
part
how old they
hoverboard.
are. It's
That's true,
Yeah.
because Segways at this point, Segways came out like 20 years ago. That's
yeah,
Indeed.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
the kids know hoverboards, and the
yeah,
adults
Nobody
know.
rides that was
but
supposed to be the transportation of the future, and I don't think it happened. I don't know.
yeah, because yeah,
Maybe not yet.
Pat has an electric unicycle, and Zach, you've built a one or
Yeah.
whatever a
A
skateboard
one
like
wheel.
device. I
Yeah.
mean, the difference is, I guess Pat's yours you stand in the middle, basically straddle the one wheel,
Yep. I'm
and you're
skiing,
looking
and
forward.
Zach is snowboarding
Snowboarding.
on
Yeah.
pavement.
That's a good
Okay,
analogy. So
yeah,
does your unicycle have a seat, or is it you're standing up?
It stands up. Yep.
Okay,
that'd be
interesting.
pretty funny if it had a seat, though. I mean, I don't
And
know.
it's really hard
Well,
to
when
learn how to ride.
it is hard.
It's very hard.
Oh, I
Some
can
people take
imagine.
to it pretty quick, but it took me hours to be confident enough to just go in a straight line down the street. It's
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
Oh,
fa-
there's only one wheel, right? There's no way to steer
Yep, and it's
other
not
than
that
leaning
fat
over.
tire like you have on yours.
How-
It's two and a
So
quarter
how big is the
inches.
tire?
It's a 16-inch tall tire on
Okay.
mine, and it's 2.25 inches wide.
Wow, that's not much. That
No,
seemed like it'd be really difficult to balance.
but the weird thing is, it's the one wheel and your board. You can ride slow. I can't really. It's very tiring for me to ride slow. Once you hit
I see.
about 6-7 miles an hour, it's like butter. It just
Well, it's
goes,
almost
and you
like a
don't.
like a bike. A bike is really difficult to ride slow, but once you kind of get that momentum going up, you kind of helps you balance a little bit more.
Yep. But those giant
Interesting.
tires, like mine's a 16-inch, but they've got one up. There's the biggest one is 24 inches, and that's just
Whoa,
gigantor.
that's like a mountain bike size, isn't
It
it? Aren't
really
they
is.
like
I can't even imagine
24
what it must be
inches or
like
something?
riding one like that. I've ridden a 20-inch, and
I'm
that
not sure
felt like a
I'm
tank.
even tall enough. I might have that wheel up in the area I'm not
I
too
know,
comfortable
right?
with. That's a big tire.
But it's
yeah.
so smooth. You hit little bumps and things, and you hardly feel them with those big
And
16-inch
is it a new
wheels.
mat? Is there like a tube in there?
Yeah, there is a tube. I think almost
Okay.
every. I think there's
It's
only
not like
one electric unicycle that comes without a tube is tubeless.
it's not like a hard rubber,
No, no, it's
a
like
fully,
it's a.
you know.
I think they're some kind of dirt bike tires or something.
Okay.
I don't know what, and they ship weird. Like mine's literally a 16-inch diameter tire. They say it's 16 inches, but that's not the size of the rim. You know, I'm used to, if you say it's a 16-inch wheel, I think that's the
rim.
Yeah, it's very. I don't know what kind of vehicle these tires actually come from.
Yeah.
I come from a one-wheel unicycle, Pat.
They must.
Or wait, I guess there's only a one-wheel unicycle, isn't there? There's no such thing as a two-wheel.
By definition,
unicycle.
right?
Some of the guys on YouTube that do nothing but make videos about these things call them half e-bikes sometimes, or quarter cars.
Are the unicycles, are they pretty expensive? Like in comparison to the one wheels?
They're so much better of a value, I think, than the actual official trademarked one wheels. The first one I bought was a little 14-inch that was refurbished. It was only $400. It has about 15 miles of range, and it'll do about 16 or 17 miles an hour.
Wow.
And the one I've upgraded to has about, I've gone about 35 miles on a charge. It'll do 28 miles an hour. I've done 25, and I shouldn't go that fast. I don't have enough safety gear.
25 on a unicycle?
Yeah.
That's
and
like...
the scariest part about it is it's not scary to go 25. It's
Really?
It's just like, well, it was the first few, in the first 100 miles it was scary. But now, if I have a warning beeper on there to tell me when I'm going over 20, because I don't feel like it would be comfortable crashing at 25.
Yeah. Does it have a pushback feature where it will tilt you back up?
It will tilt you back when you start to go too fast. It'll beep, and then it'll beep more, and then it'll tilt you back. There's 2 or 3 levels of, but I'm also using, it has a Bluetooth speaker built in. And there's an app on my phone, and I can set another alarm sooner than the programmed alarms. And she tells me to slow down. Like, she literally says slow down. And I'm always embarrassed because I'll be passing someone, and she'll tell me to slow down. And I have to tell her, listen, you're embarrassing me. You got to shh. I'm not trying to go this fast. I just want to get ahead of the guy that I'm passing. I don't want to.
Yeah.
So it's got a Bluetooth speaker on it, so it plays songs from your phone on it?
It can. I don't do that, but it'll also have, the app has speed adjusted, pitch adjusted motor noise. It's like there's a motorcycle noise is the default.
Oh,
but
that's
I put
ridiculous.
I downloaded the Jetsons car.
There you go. I was going to say something like that.
And I play it real quiet because people don't hear me coming. It's a lot like a baseball card in the spokes. But I scare people all the time because you don't make any noise. And I just, I tell them I'm on their left or something when they're walking on the bike trail. And they jump. It's like, I don't mean to scare you. It's just everything's too quiet. So when I play that little bit of noise, people don't get scared anymore.
There you go.
Pat told me that, I guess he was riding down the street or something, and this lady's on the phone, and she says, "Oh, it's that guy again." Like, apparently Pat's like a celebrity in Plano, or probably Texas in general, where he lives.
The whole thing.
So,
how many people are riding electric unicycles around, right?
Just man.
I know,
Tim and you. That's all there are.
I've run into 3 of us, and we have there's a little e-skateboard group here in town, and there's another 3 or 4 unicycles in the skateboard group. I thought
Do you guys
that
go harass people and
a biker gang?
It's like a biker gang.
Do you guys be like, oh, you go to different restaurants, like, oh, you should pay us some protection just if something were to happen, we could maybe take care of it for you.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
It's
too
like
hot
the
here to wear
Godfather
the leather
2020.
jackets and stuff, and the chaps and everything. I can't say what kind of chaps I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah. So that's yeah. But Zach, though, we'd like to hear about your skateboard. You built this yourself, and I believe it was just under $700, not including all the tools that you used. Is that
right? Yeah,
right?
I tried so that was kind of the impetus. Was I was like, I would love to ride one of those, but I don't have $2,000 plus to buy one, and I'm pretty sure I could make one for cheaper than that. So I kind of started I went down a deep rabbit hole one night and stayed up way too late on my phone in bed, kind of researching this and watching a bunch of other people who've done it and learning what kind of things I needed. And the more I learned about it, it's like, oh, this would probably be easier than I thought, because it's been done before. I'm not the first person to do it by any means. So it's a fairly well documented process. There was still quite a bit of research and troubleshooting and problem solving, but yeah, I started ordering some parts. I found it's a 10-inch, brushless hub motor. It's kind of like, I think they use go-kart, kind of a go-kart tire. So it's like 6.5 inches wide or something. It's a real big fat tire. And it's got the hub motor inside.
You can stand on these while you're not moving. They're so wide, right? You can just kind of...
I mean,
if you're...
yeah, because you've got 2 feet to balance, and you can balance fairly easily on them. I mean, it takes practice. It's not like anybody would just jump up there and be able to do it immediately. I think there's some practice involved. But yeah, I would imagine it's a lot easier than a unicycle, because you've got 2 feet and a lot more stability.
Sure.
But, yeah. So I kind of started the hub motor. I ordered that from AliExpress, and is actually, I think the shipping was just as much as the hub motor. It was really expensive to get over here, and it took a few weeks.
And is the sub motor, is this the same sort of motor that's used on a hoverboard, or is it different than that?
I think it's bigger. I mean, it's a hub motor. Well, I guess it could. I guess it is. I guess the hoverboards do use a hub motor, because the motor is encased inside the hub. But this one has the axle traveling all the way through, whereas like a hoverboard would just have an axle on one side.
Right.
It doesn't stick
Okay.
out the other side. So you'd have just a single axle as opposed to a through axle. So yeah,
Okay.
the axle kind of sticks out both sides of the wheel. And so I kind of jumped onto Fusion 360 and started designing a frame, and I just got some aluminum rectangular tubing, and I do a lot of design work in Fusion just to try to work out bugs before they happen. I'm not the type of person that will just kind of build it without a plan. I like to have a almost fully finished model before really starting on things. So I have like a full featured model in Fusion of this one wheel, and kind of went from there. And I used the aluminum tubing as kind of the 2 main frame rails, and then I designed some enclosures on the ends to hold the battery and the electronics and stuff, and I 3D printed those. And then I put on some little bumpers, again 3D printed, and put on some RGB LED strips for my front light and my tail light, and kind of went from there and put it all together.
It really looks like a fantastic build.
Well, thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
I'm really proud of it. It was a lot of work and a lot of fun.
How long do you think it took you to build it?
Well, the design work took probably just as long or longer than the actual building.
And it takes 3 times longer when you
time.
film it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Filming always slows things down. I don't know. It took me, I would say, 3D printing the parts, if you get those, that takes a long time, but that's not like something you have to sit there and do, right? You just kick it off and you can go do something else, have it run overnight. I mean, they're big parts too. I used up every bit. I have an artillery sidewinder 3D printer. And it's got a build volume of 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters, and then a 400 millimeter Z-axis. So it's got
really
a really
big
build
boy.
volume. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I used that 300 by 300. I was right up against the limits on that for the battery enclosure and stuff. So yeah, I ended up I was trying to spec out a battery. This was one of the things that kind of dictated the design a lot more than I had realized. Was finding a suitable battery, and I actually found it's an e-bike battery is what it was designed for, but it's a really big. How much was it? I think I can't remember the specs on it, but it was like close to like 1 kilowatt hour of capacity, which is a crazy amount. I mean, this is a big old battery. It's like the size of a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and about 3 inches thick.
That's
And
about
it
how
weighs-
big my battery is. Is about
Yeah, and it weighs probably
1,000 watt hours.
25 pounds. It's really
I bet
heavy.
it is.
And I chose that because I wanted to have like a really long range. I could have gotten a smaller one, and the overall design would have been a lot smaller. But fitting that big old battery in there was what made the design a lot bigger than I had originally planned.
So that battery though, I mean, just thinking about how this works. I mean, you've got I guess just a little sketch up here. That's not. Let's see, sketch. I mean, basically, you got a wheel in the middle, right? Yep. And you got a battery on one side. Does that make the the weight kind of unbalanced?
Yeah. Very unbalanced.
Yeah.
In this
Okay.
case. Yeah. So like when it sits on the ground, it obviously tilts towards the side with the battery. But I mean, I weigh a lot more than the battery, so it's pretty easily overcome. I just have to lean a little bit forward. My body weight can more than compensate for that unbalance.
Okay, so I assume the battery's probably on the back, so you always start out on the back with your left or right foot, and then you press down. Exactly. I guess depending on if you ride goofy foot or normal foot, I guess that's how the skateboarders say it still.
And snowboarding, yeah, that's how I went with it, and I'm not sure if that was the best way, but it feels very comfortable to stand on the side, with the battery on it, and then I put my front foot on there and kind of lean forward, and that seems to work very well.
Okay. Nice. So how far have you gone with this device?
So I was doing some range testing, but I was living in Arizona up until a few weeks ago, and it was really hot. And so actually some of the 3D I used PLA for the 3D printed parts, which I knew weren't going to do very well, but it's what I had on hand. And some of the parts started melting. The parts that I was standing on.
Really?
I mean, it's really hot in Arizona. I mean, it's pretty brutal. So they started melting, and then I had a little bit of a crash on the asphalt, which sort of abruptly ended my testing phase. So, and then I was getting ready to move up here to Utah. So I kind of had to put that on the back burner, but I've got it here, and I'm still getting settled in, but I hope to do some more range testing. But I think that battery is about 3 times the capacity of the commercial one wheel.
Really?
So
that's a good size.
It should put like, I think I did some back of the envelope calculations. I want to do some experimental ones, but like I should be able to get close to like 50 or 60 mile range on that.
That's a long way. It's
a really long way.
I mean, I don't know. Everybody knows how long that is,
For most of us, it's farther than you want to go in one trip.
Yeah. I mean, that's more than you would go on one trip for sure.
But one of the things about these self-balancing anything, you don't want to run the battery too close to empty, because that's what's keeping. You need the more you discharge a battery, the less power it has available to keep you upright. Yeah. So your top speeds aren't the same anymore.
A lot of the same safety features built in. It'll start doing a tilt back, as you start getting lower, so it won't let you run the battery too low, and you can even have it shut off before it gets too low, and you can all set that. I wanted to talk about the motor controller that's in the one that I built. So there's a motor controller called the VESC, VESC. Mm-hmm. And that's a guy named, I think his name is Benjamin Vetter. So V for Vetter. And then,
I thought it was very electronic speed control. Isn't that what that stands for?
Yeah, very electronic. So it's so the ESC is electronic speed control, and then the guy who designed it, his last name was Vetter. So it's the VESC, and it was actually a really cool find in this project. I'd seen other people use them in various projects. But there's actually been a lot of development in the software for this particular ESC, and it's all like, clicking some buttons to get this balancing stuff to work. I had anticipated having to write Arduino code and use it, an accelerometer and all that kind of stuff and write the balancing app and all the PID control and all that kind of stuff. I had totally anticipated having to do all that work, and it comes to find out that I can just push a few buttons and have it work.
Really?
So that was really awesome. Yeah, to find out that VESC has that capability.
So what runs it from a control standpoint? I mean, it's not just the VESC, is it? You've got some sort of Arduino or something on it, correct?
No, that VESC has a microcontroller on it. Yeah, it's got in fact, it's way more capable than a typical Arduino. microcontroller.
So it's literally plug and play. You don't have to.
I mean, yeah, it's plug and play, and you can configure it in software. You basically, it's got a USB port on there, so you just plug it into your computer, and you open up the software. You go through the little menus, and there's like a setup wizard to get all of the things set up, and you can kind of tune the PID control loop, and you can kind of fine tune all that. But also, you can also export a configuration file. So that's what I've done. I've kind of got it set up to how I like it, and I can just export this configuration file. And if somebody else wanted to build one, then all they'd have to do is just load up that configuration file.
I'm very jealous that you can configure the software on your wheel. The most I can really do is there's a soft, medium, and hard mode for how. And you can feel the difference. When it's in soft, you can feel that the pedals dip a bit before you start moving. And it's way more comfortable to ride in soft. Yeah. But
I think with the commercial one wheels, they have different riding profiles. You can be like a real aggressive profile or kind of a beginner profile, and so you can kind of configure those, and you'd be able to do the same thing with these config files.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So, well, that's awesome. So I know you put out some fairly involved instructions on how to build one. Has anybody else followed your designs and built one, as far as you know?
Yeah, so I did 3 videos on it, and the purpose of the videos was not to detail every single exact step on how to build one, because that would have gotten really tedious and very long. So it's just more of an overview, but I went into a lot of detail, and I wrote up a build guide if somebody wanted to build their own. So I put a lot of time and effort into kind of creating a build guide and documentation. I have a parts list, bill of materials. I have all the 3D printing files. And yeah, if somebody wanted to build that, they'd be able to do that.
So how long would it take somebody, you think, since with using your instructions, or do you not even know?
I have no idea. I mean, okay. I would guess, maybe 3 weekends.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No, and maybe that's even an overestimation. Like I said, like the 3D printing parts is what takes a long time, and drilling a few holes in the aluminum rails and kind of assembling it all together, and yeah, that's about it.
And you sell those plans on your website, I guess, or is that?
Yeah, I have those. So all of the design files and stuff I actually released as open source. They're on GitHub.
Awesome.
And so if somebody wants to build it, they can totally follow along with those. But the build guide, it's a PDF with step-by-step instructions and pictures, and a lot of extra little things that I learned along the way are kind of tucked away in that build guide, and that's what I'm selling on my website.
Okay, and where can we find that? We want to
bytesizeengineering.com.
Okay, so and how much? I'm just curious, how much would one of these build guides be?
So the build guide costs $20.
Oh, $20 for it's how many hours do you work? It's way worth it.
Oh yeah, I mean I put in a lot of work into that. So it's like 40 pages long of documentation and pictures and kind of hopefully things that will help people.
So there you go. That's
Zach, did you know somebody's selling a kit to build a one wheel like?
Is it the float?
Yes.
The float wheel?
Yes,
yeah.
But it seemed terrifying. The only way to pay for it is with Bitcoin or something.
I ran down that rabbit hole, and I was like, oh, well, all I have to do is just buy this kit. And then I'm looking on their YouTube videos, and it's like, we're currently being sued by One Wheel, but don't worry, guys. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, maybe
this is not the route I want to go. So they were using partial things that they've designed, and then like accessories that you can buy from One Wheel, and like that was their kit. Is like you have to buy bits and pieces from each of them.
Mostly, I was going to suggest that maybe you should be selling a few of the like maybe make the rails or something and sell them and let people do the long parts like the 3D printing themselves. I mean, I don't know which parts they tell you to make.
I thought about it, and just seeing the writing on the wall with that company, I didn't really want to flirt with that too much. And so I figured that a build guide is, hey, here's a DIY, and I don't call it the One Wheel in my build guide. I call it the Openwheel, because the design files are open source and it's kind of an open wheel. So I just called it the Openwheel. I don't use their name at all, and it's just a build guide to build your own self-balancing skateboard. So I'm trying to stay away from any litigation.
It's half an e-bike.
Right.
Yeah, half
an e-bike, the half e-bike. So
quarter of a Tesla. Right?
You're doing a good job, Zach.
Yeah, you're doing it. I think that's right. So
thanks.
Well, is there anything else you're working on now, Zach? I assume. I mean, this is a mature project at this point. So, is there anything like
Oh,
what's your
definitely
next
not a
project?
mature project. It is still a very prototype, and that's what I'm hoping if people will jump on and work on this, and they can help me, refine the design and figure out problems. I'm still having a couple of issues with the 3D printed parts that I have, and so it's very much experimental. It's not, not a finished product by any means.
Sure.
Zach, I have 1,500 miles on my 2 unicycles, and I tried to
Wow.
get on a one-wheel pint, and my brain just can't figure it out. I keep
You've already trained your brain to do the
Yeah, I
unicycle.
don't understand. And they were making fun of me because it's supposed to be easier to do. And I mean, I know I could figure if I spent 10 minutes playing with it,
Yeah.
I'd be able to figure it out. But I could not get right on and do it. It was
Yeah.
I kept wanting to lean. I guess I'm trying to lean what would be sideways on the one wheel, and it was a one wheel pint, and they have that round.
They're smaller, yeah.
It's a little different, but
Yeah.
I felt a little dumb.
Well,
I'm okay with that though.
I'm sure you look really cool on the unicycle. So that
No,
makes up.
I absolutely know that I don't look cool.
Well, no, you're recognizable. I mean, people know who you are on the street.
It's true. I'm that guy.
You're that guy.
You're that guy. So yeah, you should wear a. I mean, we don't have one. You should have like the Creativity Podcast shirt or something, and you could like
I
advertise
should.
for us.
Do we have one?
We don't have one, so we got stickers though. I guess
Jeremy.
you could put the sticker on your shirt.
But yeah, as far as other projects that I have going, I always have things going. I always, like many makers, struggle to find the time to do everything that I want to do. But yeah, one of the projects on the horizon is I would love to have a laser cutter, and I want one that has a bigger work area than like the Glowforge has, and I want more power. I think the Glowforge is like a 40-watt laser.
You should
So
definitely
it's been
talk
on
to
my
Jeremy about lasers.
Yeah. Actually,
you-
I got a red and black laser last year, and I actually did a video on it, so you can
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
do like checking that out. Yeah, it's supposedly it's 60 watts, but I
Yeah.
think it's more like 50 watts.
Yeah,
And it's a 20 by 28 build area, I think. So I've been
that's fairly large. Yeah,
extremely happy with it, but it did take
It's not
it took a couple months to get it.
K40. Is it the K40 style? The
Uh,
laser.
The
No, it's
K40
not
is
a-
the smaller one. but
Yeah,
it's-
this one's
It
quite a bit bigger.
It's like a much bigger K4. It's got wheels. It's a whole.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
I only know this because at our makerspace we have the 80-watt version of Jeremy's
Okay.
6. And the only difference is it's a bigger tube. They actually tacked on a piece of sheet metal to extend a little nubbin
Yeah.
out the one side to fit a longer
Yeah, as
tube
long as
in.
you could fit your tube in, I guess it doesn't matter what size you're using. Although your power supply would have to be,
20 watts
spec'd.
bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To fit it. But yeah, that's been a project that I've wanted to do for a long time, and in fact, there's a guy. His name is Rob Chesney or something. He's from New Zealand, and he did a full custom build laser a couple years ago, and he did something very similar where he built like a build guide, or he wrote a build guide, and I purchased that because I was like, I'm sure there's a lot of good information in here. So, but he did
Sure.
a whole series on his channel. It's called Further Fabrication is his YouTube channel. But
Okay.
he did a really, really great job documenting his build process, and it only, ignited the fire even further in me. I was like, I got to do the same thing. So,
Yeah.
so I would love to build my own.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't build my own laser, but I did do quite a bit to
Sure.
customize it. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I look forward to checking that out.
Yeah. Well, Pat, are you working on anything interesting these days? Maybe Uber lights.
Well, I do have the Uber Lights boards here. These are... I don't want to talk too much about these because I talk about them
Okay.
all the time, but we've got this little PCB here. This is the size of a 5¼ inch drive bay. So these are RGB LEDs. We're adding a third set. And it's going to show things like, CPU usage and network usage and things. But this has been on the back burner because my designer, he told me we're not doing this until KiCad 6 gets released. Is 6 the next one? And that's been taking a while. And then now there's shortages of all the electronic stuff, so I'm not too worried about being too fast. But I have a project working, Jeremy, but I can't show it to you because I'm sitting in this chair and all my lights are overrunning.
Okay. It's like
but
a sensor for you.
I have a chair sensor in this recliner over here. It's an airbag sensor for the passenger seat of a car, wired into a Node MCU board, and it's plumbed into Home Assistant. So it won't turn the light off in here.
You're using water to power this? Is that?
It's It's electrons. It's plumbed with electrons through the air. It's so magical.
Through the air.
It is. It is truly magical.
But
the stuff
I'm really
that we just
excited that that's
take for
working,
granted.
and you've inspired me to try something, Jeremy.
Okay, I hope
Because
that's a good
of
thing.
your macro pad.
Oh yeah.
When I printed one of these knobs, it was loose, and that got me thinking, why can't I tap the knob instead of hitting keys? Like tap the four corners of the knob. Well, I don't know that it has corners. So I picked up a bag of accelerometers, and I just got these arrived last night. I just got it working, and then put it away. But I want to see if I can use an accelerometer to detect.
Oh, inside the knob. That's.
Well, maybe not. I
Maybe?
can't pick this up either because it's attached to my headphones. But I've got this little Bose Puck volume knob over here. But I'm thinking just a volume knob, no buttons, and you can double tap on the.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
on
that sounds awesome, Pat.
I'm about 50% sure that it can be done, and then I'm about 10% sure that I can make it happen. So
60% of the time, it works all the time.
we hope so.
Yeah.
What do you got going on?
So yeah, I guess the macro pad's probably my biggest project these days, just because it's.
Can we buy the macro pad, Jeremy?
You can actually. I'm selling it on Tindy. I call it the JC Pro Macro because it uses a Pro Micro board. You sometimes call it Arduino Pro Micro board, and my name's Jeremy Cook, so JC Pro Macro. So that's been my big project. Just trying to adapt it for different uses. Using I've got a kind of Final Cut Pro mode I'm working on, and even got something where you guys ever played this game called Slither.io? You guys know what I'm talking about? Basically, you control this snake like around the screen. So basically, I've got it. So if you press a button, it'll offset the mouse a certain amount, and then when you turn it, it turns your mouse cursor so the snake's following it. It's kind of silly, but kind of fun way to play. So
That's cool.
yeah.
2 people on my Discord server are already excited and ordering your macro pad, Jeremy.
Well, I
think you
await
might not
their-
be charging enough.
Do you think? Well,
Is
you
what
know
I
what?
might be learning.
They are welcome to give me a donation, I suppose, if they.
That's really cool. You guys are both doing PCB related projects. I know we're low on time, but it would be fun to get together and talk more about that sometime.
I'd love
Yeah,
to.
absolutely. So.
I want to know what software you guys use and how you feel about selling on Tindy and all that kind of stuff. It'd be fun.
Well, just a short answer. I use KiCad or KiCad, depending on how you say it. And
How am I supposed to say it, Jeremy?
I think you can say it either way. I think I go back and forth in my head. And
I've
then,
always said ECAD, but I don't know.
That's fine.
But I've heard it both ways.
And then selling on Tindy, I think is awesome. It's a great platform, and I'm perhaps a little biased because I write for their blog too, and they, pay me for that. So
Yeah.
But I guess I'm not just a advertiser. I'm whatever the guy said in the Hair Club for Men. I'm not just. I'm not the president of Tindy, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm involved in all aspects of Tindy at this point. So
Cool.
does that make sense?
Very cool.
So-
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been happy selling on Tindy. I don't sell a lot, and I don't know how to design a PCB, Zach. A friend of mine is doing. We're trying to go into business together here. I guess
You don't know how to design one yet.
yet. This is
Yet.
true.
Well, I don't know. I guess this is a good place to end it, guys. I don't know. I don't want to. If you got anything
Yeah,
else to tell the world, Zach, we want to give you the opportunity, of course.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on the podcast. I had a lot of fun and chatting with you guys about this.
Yeah, this was awesome. And Jeremy, we missed an important thing here.
What's that?
Zach, where can we find you on the internet if people have never heard of you before, and our huge audience would want to find you? Where
I am mostly on YouTube. My channel is called Byte Sized, BYTESIZED. So that's probably the best place to find me. And then I've got a website, bitesizeengineering.com. And then I am on Instagram, but I'm not very active on Instagram, I'll be honest. So
Where can we find you, Pat, if we wanted to find you?
Well, I pretend to have a YouTube channel, but I never post anything. But you can find me on my blog at patshead.com. And I
Nice.
haven't been writing there enough lately either, so I'm doing a bad job. But
Well,
there's
who's to
like
say?
300,000 words up there now at this point, so there's got to be something useful there. I hope.
That's a couple books, right? So
Sure,
I guess I don't know.
it's at least 3
yeah.
novellas.
And you can find me at jeremyscook.com, or if you look up Jeremy S. Cook on Twitter or YouTube, you should get to me. And if you don't, it'll be somebody else called Jeremy S. Cook, and
And he might be good people too.
he might be all right. I don't
So
know.
like and subscribe that guy also.
Yeah. But yeah, well, Zach, thanks so much for coming on. Pat, always
Thank
a pleasure
you
to
for
talk to you. And
Always good to talk to you, Jeremy. And
Yeah.
it was fun to meet you, Zach. This was awesome.
likewise.
all right, see you guys later.